Speaking of global linkages, we recently celebrated America's 245th birthday. Our 245th year of independence, and it's really important, and I want to re-emphasize this, that we did not achieve that independence alone. We relied on our partners. Partnerships between people, between allies, and between nations were critical to our country's birth and to our survival. And they still are. To achieve our national security priorities and deliver tangible results for the American people, as well as for our friends and for our allies, we, the United States, must revitalize our international alliances and partnerships. Today, as COVID-19, as climate change, as the economic impact of the pandemic and other challenges we face have shown us more than ever, America's fate is inextricably linked to events beyond our shores. As we confront the global pandemic and a crushing economic downturn and a crisis of racial justice and a deepening climate emergency, we know the obstacles and challenges that we face today are significant. We face a world of rising nationalism, receding democracy, growing rivalry with China and Russia and other authoritarian states, and a technological revolution that has reshaped and is reshaping every aspect of our lives. Ours is a time of unprecedented challenges, but it is also a time of unmatched opportunities. The United States will always promote partnership, not rivalry, prosperity, not dependence, security, not domination, and opportunity, not threats. This is what President Biden means when he talks about building back better. And we all need to build back better to combat the threats that we all face and to secure a better future, not just for my country, not just for your country, but for the planet. But what does that really mean? My commitment to you today, and as we discussed earlier in meetings, and what the President has made very clear, is that our first priority is to strengthen global health. We have all seen the troubling spike in COVID-19 cases in Papua New Guinea, and the government's valiant efforts to address this issue have been remarkable. But defeating COVID-19 is paramount. As President Biden has said, this isn't over. It will not stop until we stop this pandemic everywhere. But we also have a responsibility as partners and friends to ensure that our partner nations are better equipped to prevent and prepare for and respond to future global health crises so that we can stop outbreaks before they turn into pandemics. Because it is that ability and capability that are currently putting our safety and our prosperity in danger. Here in Papua New Guinea, the United States has contributed more than $6.9 million to fight COVID-19 through personal protective equipment, ventilators, technical assistance, testing capability. And President Biden announced on June 3rd that PNG will also receive a significant vaccine donation from the United States. We will announce more details on that soon. We know when we're sick, we can't work. We know that it's a burden on our families to look after us. It's a burden on our hospitals and our healthcare system. So it's important to all of us to take the necessary steps that we become a contributor and not a burden. And we do the necessary thing to give this virus nowhere to go. We need to stop it in its tracks. And the governor promised me today that he's going to get his jab, and I hope that all of you will follow suit. Vaccines will stop COVID-19. Our second priority, just as important to our collective future, is to accelerate the global response to the climate crisis by funding international climate programs, including the Green Climate Fund, to help developing countries implement climate adaptation and emissions reduction and mitigation programs. But climate change is not the only challenge we face in the Pacific. As you mentioned, we heard it multiple times from the deputy, from the mayor. Papua New Guinea, and particularly Manus in this province, straddles key shipping routes, touches on so many other nations. Responsibility for lucrative fisheries, protecting the deep sea resources of wide swaths of the Pacific Ocean. This is a huge gift that Papua New Guinea has, and one that we stand ready to help you preserve, protect, nurture, and develop in a way that will sustain this gift, not only geographic position, but the resources that you have for generations to come. Illegal fishing, illegal logging, illegal mining, human trafficking, the drug trade, and other criminal activities threaten lives and livelihoods across the region. As we did 75 years ago, the United States is again ready to step in to build our partners' capacity through training, professional exchanges, and agreements like Shipwriter and like our Defense Cooperation Agreement to counter these economic and criminal threats, to enhance Papua New Guinea's security, because your security and safety is important to the United States. It's important to our national security and safety. The other priority we're committed to is democracy. You're a young democracy. We're an older democracy, but we still are a nation in progress, in striving every day to make a more perfect union. So democracy, equality, justice, these are the founding principles of my nation, and they're the founding principles of yours. And they are under threat throughout the world. Therefore, we will double down on the fight for democracy, on the fight for freedom, just as we fought on these shores 75 years ago to preserve that freedom for this planet. The stakes have never been higher, and it's one that we are dedicated to preserving today and for the future. We're looking to how are we going to do that. We're going to increase our foreign assistance to advance human rights, fight corruption, stem the tide of democratic backsliding, and strengthen and defend democracies, for example, through technical training for elections. I think you have an election coming up soon. Yes? Next year. And very importantly, to be able to give a voice to every citizen, we will continue to support independent media and civil society. In that same spirit, we're also committed to truth, transparency, and accountability. The United States enforces one of the most robust anti-corruption frameworks in the world. We were the first country to criminalize foreign bribery, and in partnership with foreign counterparts, have recovered and returned more than $2 billion in stolen public assets in just the past 2 years alone. When people steal from your country, when they engage in bribery and corruption, it's not just theft and putting money in their pockets, they're stealing your future. They're stealing what's rightfully yours to develop your economy, grow your security, and give back to your people as part of the government to strengthen that social contract. So we are going to defeat corruption by implementing sound reforms consistent with international anti-corruption commitments, and we are committed to developing transparent, accountable institutions, empowering citizens, journalists, and civil society organizations to help defeat this global threat. to security and to democracy. And we are going to arm our partners to do the same. We will help safeguard the future by supporting a regional order where all nations, large and small, are strong, sovereign, and free from coercion. We want to support independence, not dependence. And we want every partner nation to be able to make the smart, informed choice to set your own future, your own destiny, and take care of your people. So I'm very pleased to announce that last Friday, some of you already heard this, we signed a 505 agreement, which is an end-use agreement, an important security treaty with the government of Papua New Guinea. We call it a 505 agreement because Section 505 of the United States Foreign Assistance Act requires that the United States enter into an agreement with the recipient government that includes certain provisions prior to the transfer of assistance-funded equipment, technology, and materials. This agreement we've been working on for over 4 years. So it was a momentous event, and I just want to take a moment, I'm going off script, to acknowledge John Scarry, who is my Paul Mill Chief, and Lieutenant Colonel Murnock, who is my Senior Development Officer official. Defense, sorry.
It's okay. David might be a
He would have a problem. Who worked tirelessly to make sure that Papua New Guinea's interests were preserved, but we still met the terms and conditions of the statute. Simply put, the 505 agreement ensures that any equipment or technology provided to Papua New Guinea will not be transferred to a different nation or entity, that the Papua New Guinea government will guarantee the security of the equipment and agrees to monitoring how it's used. That's it. But more importantly, what the agreement means is that we are now prepared to spend money and to transfer equipment, technology, knowledge, and capacity building to Papua New Guinea because, as I said before, we believe that a stronger, more capable Papua New Guinea makes the entire Pacific region stronger, more stable, and safer. So in fact, the actual name in the statute of the State Department and the Defense Department's vernacular in our circles, the name of the 505 is called Building Partner Capacity. So it's a foundation to building the individual relationships and strengthening the capacity of our partner countries. So security in Papua New Guinea and the South Pacific includes protecting your land. So we are working with the Climate Change and Development Authority to increase their ability to apply for, gain, and manage international climate change funds. Together, we have trained over 150 climate adaptation program managers to address the needs of their communities, and that includes in Manus Province. To lighten the way and reduce the burden to families in rural areas, we are proud members of the Papua New Guinea Electrification Partnership, along with Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, to provide electricity to 70% of the country within the next 9 years. Which is important. Without that connectivity, without that infrastructure, without electrification, our hospitals can't treat the sick. Our children can't study in school. Our military bases can't keep the lights on to make sure that the bad guys don't come in. It is fundamental to a developing nation to be able to power itself, and this is something that we are deeply committed to, and I'm very excited about the progress that we're making. Our fourth and final goal is to teach or actually invest in the next generation by focusing on access to higher quality education and health. I heard today over and over again how critical this is for your administration to be able to equip your children, your grandchildren, yourselves to be able to own that independence, operate those investments, and ensure that your province and your nation succeeds and is functional, not just with the help from donors, but on your own. That's sovereignty, that's independence, and it's something that we are completely committed to. By investing in the next generation, by investing in better health and education systems and quality and access, this will translate into protection from pandemics, as I said at the outset, and strengthening the health and education system and investing in citizens, as we all know, is the true dividend of the future. I know everybody's hungry, so I want to thank you all for welcoming me here today. The United States is here beside you, standing for the fundamental values that we share, such as transparency and the rule of law, human dignity and freedom, responsible trade and investment, freedom of the press and expression, sovereignty, and enduring partnerships that are based on mutual respect, anchored in the past, but with an eye to the future. So thank you for your warm welcome and your attention. I really appreciate your hospitality.
Thank you, Rebecca.